There's also anti-Semitic. There's a lot of anti-Semitic ones.
Yeah.
But if you wrote somebody's name online and you put 3 parentheses around it, that was like to kind of like help them as like a secret Jew or something like that.
All right,
yeah, but then it's more than just
Do we have the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Racist rants.
It doesn't push it to this thing, but I won't worry about it.
Oh my god, I follow this guy that like he actually does this undercover of well, not really undercover, but he calls out. He'll like
fine.
look for
I'm not gonna worry about this.
Yeah.
And then he
I'll monitor it.
takes it to the police kind of stuff. One of those investigators. But
Let me
oh
just
my
add-
god, it's bad.
Really quick here.
Really heavy.
Mm-hmm. Though I can't remember which country it is. Now it's like illegal to actually have
Hey,
views
what's
or
up, Asha?
images of children on
Holy
social
shit, you're
media.
here. The first time you know what else.
That's a good.
That's a
forward.
good idea.
Yeah.
That's, I think, this coming generations, one of the biggest complaints about their parents
Aren't you
was
supposed to be
being how
class?
online they were forced to be because they were videotaping their little kids and put into a public domain without permission. Yeah. And this is forever, right? Like once you're online, it's just online forever.
There's actually a
See me through the camera.
references across the internet.
Yeah.
Actually, look on top of your on camera, you know.
I don't take like randomly in the street.
Yeah.
That's a bear or something.
Like in the background.
Yeah, like in the
Why does
background
that body
of
look
the
like a
time,
bear?
I used to run trail, and I saw photos of me running run trail. I probably ran with people like take a photo of me running and be like, yeah, people are running here.
Yeah.
I found even those was like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
My parents didn't report anything about me because so we didn't take social media. But I guess in like 20 years from now,
Aaron,
people are going to be
are
amazed
you
at how
gonna
much
be
content
okay, by the way?
is everywhere.
Think about all the people in this protection.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever hear about the
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
Or are getting hounded by stalkers. I've had to deal with like stalkers for example cosplayer.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like it is so creepy. And I've had only like the smallest amount of like they found out where I was.
Because here's the thing,
stuff,
once
not
you
like
have
the
a
follow
working
me all
drawing,
about it.
Everything is upside
and you can
Yeah,
your
but
address is upside
It's surprising. It's surprising what like a dedicated individual can pull from like.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
All this time
like,
we
you can
went to
identify like where you are.
For sure. You spend money, but that's not.
It's.
Um,
I probably go out of my way not to be online because of it. I think I have my Facebook just to contact family.
I pretty much have only strictly cosplay photos on my stuff. I don't think.
You posted the details.
I think on TikTok I don't have a
I
single
gave you 2,000.
photo of me on cosplay.
So we're about to get more
Image of me on
funding, so I
cosplay.
can add another 500.
So
Okay.
it's.
That's good. By the way,
Yeah.
And
gone
then we try
anywhere
to
near
choose
over
like
budget. We're
locations
fine.
where either they're like
hey, all I need
very
is we
known
can control
publicly
the drone using a laptop, and that's what because it's hard
or
to do.
that are
I also-
generic enough that they
Yeah.
can.
You need to also submit to the insurance.
And so, for example, I go to the Rose Gardens
We also, by
downtown,
the end of next
because
Thursday,
psychiatric is
petition
that
for
look
grant.
just across the
It's
street.
not raining.
Remind me, by the way,
There's
on the
the
21st of
Rose
this
Gardens.
month, there's an event on Wednesday. 21st to 22nd.
It's
I already reserved for you by the table.
I didn't realize you know roses here.
Huh?
There's the Rose Gardens.
I reserved
I
the
grew
table.
up by Wisconsin Gardens, so I'm used to those gardens.
Coffee with
Gardens.
it says,
Wisconsin Gardens is the largest botanical
21st.
garden in the
It's
world.
11.
Oh.
This
Like
Saturday?
it's massive.
No,
The
22nd.
part that is open to
This
like
Sunday?
visitation
Monday.
is very small comparatively. Like
This
it's
Monday.
like
Monday or Tuesday. 23rd.
Actually, you gotta start giving us detail.
and
Maybe
he's
not
like
have
awesome.
to
And
do it.
did you know that the first Jurassic Park was filmed there?
No.
This is why I'm mad at you. You keep doing
Wisconsin
this.
Gardens. It's
the
I
amount
live
of
in
drama
La
that's
Piñata,
in
which is
inside
where
you.
Jimmy Dallas.
You
I believe
keep
you.
making schedules for us
Jet
without
Propulsion
telling us until
Laboratories. They're the
then.
people that built the rovers.
Gotcha.
Oh, no.
Have you watched The Martian?
This was in your hand.
I read The Martian. I think I watched The
You should
Martian.
have told us. Anyway.
Andy Weir?
Yeah.
Did you ever read Project Hail Mary?
No, but you could put it on my list.
I think it's better than The Martian, to be honest. My sister is an engineer. That's like my favorite book is Project Hail Mary. but in The Martian they do talk a lot about GPR. So.
All I remember is potatoes. That's
Yeah.
what I remember.
That was essentially the
There's a lot of
crux
math about potatoes.
The potatoes part was the
agriculture.
main
Yeah,
research.
agriculture, yeah.
It was the main part of the research. I really into potatoes.
Okay.
Did you know, do you know the story of how the potatoes became
We're probably
popular?
gonna use this probably.
Does it have something to do with the Irish famine?
Became popular.
In Europe? Because they're an American,
Yeah, there are some American species.
they're American species. So
I mean, I already know
people
this,
did
but
not
Michael
like
also
potatoes
went.
in
They-
Europe.
they
So
mentioned you.
they had, I think it was a lawyer or
what? Which
king,
meeting?
made
Yeah,
a
the lady at-
like
Oh, that's fine.
or something that was not.
I did
allowed
I went to
for
the first meeting.
Public to have, but then
Hopefully
had
good
guards
things.
It wasn't
to pay
that.
bribes.
She was like,
and
oh wait,
allow
there was another
people
person
to,
like you at
Mm.
the other
steal.
meeting. Michael or
And so
something.
people like thought it was this
I made an
really
impression.
rough and would steal
Yes.
it.
Is that
All right.
right?
Well,
Which king? Which country?
I don't
I
remember.
I don't want to
Because they-
cut people off, but
yeah,
we are
I just remember it because I thought it was
we're gonna
just,
get
like, the
started
wackiest,
here.
like, story.
might as
There's a lot
well
of
just.
weird stories, but I remember I used to think that tomatoes were poisonous. If I remember correctly.
Oh, that's like it's like I think that's like a Roman thing because of the
Something to do
silver.
with the fact that they were eating with like pewter utensils and
Something
the
like that.
acidity would release like lead, I think, in there.
I know
Yeah.
the tomatoes were also, that they weren't important to like in the 15th century.
But I suppose, hey Mosh, Mosh. So
It was Ireland where they were.
I suppose I wanted to talk about the Expo project, but I understand that we're basically in midterms right now, and so as you can see, we don't really have a tremendous amount of membership here, but from people who are here, who is interested in participating in the Expo project?
What is it?
Well, so that's part of it, is we have some ideas of, well, I have some ideas of what we could be doing, but just to even begin with, we need to know who's interested so we can know how to proceed from there. Because a lot of what we're capable of doing, like, I mean, it revolves around who will be involved, so, you know, there's... Yeah, well, we're starting now, and then ideally we're done by April 6th next semester. So
Is it gonna be like tech or like which field?
yeah, so gotcha. So the objective is it's going to be at our table. We're going to have a demo, and ideally it's something that's somewhat interactive. The ideas that I've had so far are like, and this is the thing, they're not super interactive. So. Well, that's not true. One of them's more skewed towards interactability, and the other, I think, has just better utility. So let me just get through mine. So the first thing is like kind of like an auto scheduler that you're able to that it's integrated into like sort of the whole CSUS schedule, and you're able to basically provide it like. What you have to do and how long that might take, and it basically will just fill out a calendar for you in accordance with kind of what it understands already that is in accordance with like the CSUS schedule. So it's like you can tell it, I have these classes, I have maybe like this club at this time, blah, 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 and it'll just do all that for you. That's one idea. The other idea is like a litter sort of visualization tool. I don't know if you guys noticed the litter around here, but it's around, and I will say that I've tried to organize other things around remediating it, but the challenge is that that we're technically not allowed to because someone's job, but it's like if they're not picking it up, then it's like then they're not doing their job, and that we would be taking away work hours or something. You know, there was some debate about whether or not we could actually organize like a trash pickup for the campus. For some reason, we're not allowed to do that. So what we can do though is create, because I don't think they have a report system now. This is part of it, is I'd have to reach out to the right organizations to make sure that we're not just doing something in a vacuum, like talk with sustainability and maintenance and all that, but that if we created sort of a litter visualization tool that's mapped onto the campus and make it just really easy for people to like report litter if it pings their location, and they can take a picture of it and just push that, then ideally it makes their job easier and that they have less of an excuse to not just pick up the trash. So those are the two ideas I've had so far. I don't know, did you have another idea, Mosh?
Yeah, well, we could also try to, what we're doing with the litter right now?
Well, so I was just talking about two different ideas for the expo,
Okay.
which is the scheduling tool and the litter visualization tool. But I don't know how the visualization tool is particularly engaging.
Why not a tool that actually checks the quality of the pool water, so that way people do not end up getting sick from if there's any bacteria or any like algae or anything that's going to make people sick once they make contact with the water. Because the most important thing about getting into a pool first is making sure that it's clean enough for people to swim in every day during the summer.
That is another idea. We would have to talk to, I suppose, the sports facility people, but I don't know how that would be interactive as a demo.
Yeah, because I know some pools in Vegas, they get crowded with so many guests that there's often a bunch of germs coming out of pools in casinos like Caesar's Palace and Excalibur and whatever.
Right. So I mean, it's that's an idea. I'll write it down. Yeah.
Does it have to be data science oriented?
It depends what you mean. I guess not really. It can just be what the purpose is really to demonstrate what we are capable of as a club. So let me just.
There's also supposed to be some sort of competition-ish that not ASI, but ECS wants to do between the clubs for the expo, which frankly, I think it's doable. It's just kind of weird. They want to have like all clubs to do something specific, something like which club has the best banner, which club attracts the most people.
What did I just say?
Really, honestly, fickle type things like that.
When is that?
The expo is April next semester.
April 6th.
Where we'll be at?
It will be in the red room, which is below us on the first floor.
Oh, okay.
I think the first idea you had about the scheduling and stuff would be something that even the school can use widely if
Yeah.
we do get it up and running, and is much more useful for people. I don't know if that would be a way to recruit, but I think it's definitely something that is worth its time.
For sure, yeah. That like and that's part of the thought is that like, especially if we're trying to think of things that might garner grants more easily, stuff that is developed for the purpose of the school and the community definitely draws a lot, is a lot more positive. Yeah, so I'll, one for the scheduler.
Right.
Yeah.
I had an idea earlier, and it's kind of funny because it sort of lines up with this a little bit. It might be a little bit of a strange idea, but
It doesn't have to, but
okay. I had a random idea that it would be interesting to gamify the process of writing a resume and cover letter, basically. And the idea was like some sort of a video game or something where you present an individual, the backstory, that kind of a thing, and you practice turning their life experiences into a valid resume. So your scoring is basically how good the resume comes out based on the person, kind of thing.
interesting.
And so it'd be a way to practice writing a resume that gamifies it.
Yeah.
I thought of a stupid idea that would definitely bring interest to the club, but not necessarily like grants. And that would be spot a dog. Like you described that you can have like a geolocation or something. It's like, I saw a dog today. Or like, I got to pet a dog today.
So like slug but appified.
Instead of litter, it's dogs or like a cat that's on a leash or something like that, because I find that people really, really appreciate dog interaction.
Sure.
It lowers stress. It significantly helps our mentally.
Yeah, yesterday.
And it's something
I
that
think.
we all want to share about is
Dog cake mapping.
dogs.
Spike.
We don't want to hear about your babies online. We want to hear about your dog.
Right, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for that, I like the rules idea, like the thing about the AC. I think it's really cool. Like I would use that, and also like the idea of the littering. I don't think people would actually be applied to. Like if I saw like a cat in the floor or something like that, I wouldn't take out my phone. I mean,
Yeah.
like taking a photo of the cat and it's like too much help. I think that people will use it.
Yeah.
Feels like at that point,
Unfortunately,
you're
I
spending
think
more
you're-
effort documenting it than
Like,
just
just
like
like taking the cat
taking the
and
cat and
throwing
throwing
it.
it away.
Part of it, I think, would even just be as a matter of impact visual. So yes, I have that thought. If you're doing all this to report it, why not just throw it away yourself? So we're already talking about a niche number of people that might participate, but I can think of how anybody could participate in it because the data collection for that is pretty straightforward. If we wanted to train something and then try and have some sort of test set that I could just have anyone who agrees to do it with any experience level go out, take pictures, and make the report. The other thing is that as part of to keep it in sort of it would be interesting. You might be able to do some sort of analysis from that. So it's like if we've collected this data set that has sufficient coverage of the litter, then we can maybe try and identify sources and stuff like that.
Like a heat map for trash.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
But I definitely hear what you're saying. I don't know if anybody would actually, because no one picks up the trash and throws it away as is. So, yeah.
And also about the schedule one, which I also like.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, I don't even know how it actually works here, but for what I've seen, when you're registering to classes and you need like to build your schedule,
Yeah.
it may be nice if like you inputted the classes that you have to take in a term that you're planning to take, and it got like the availability of the hours and built the schedule like saying, okay, which is gonna fit better for you. Is
Yeah.
you take like group 1 of this class and group 2 of this class, and like to try to build a model which builds efficient timetables, like having all of your classes tied there together and not having like one at 9 a.m. and one at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
I think that could be useful. And it would feel like with the timetable thing, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, there's definitely, I think, at ECS a desperate need for an assistance in the scheduling of of classes. Well, part of the challenge there, I think, is even less so. How do I put it? I wish I had a whiteboard. So we're talking about perspectives, I suppose. So like from our perspective, we are trying to schedule our classes, right? But from the college perspective, they're trying to generate classes for students. You kind of see. So it's like yes, ideally they're able to do batch classes and tie them up so that people don't have to spend 10 hours on campus like me. But what ends up happening for a whole variety of policy, political, and God knows what other reasons, that what ends up happening is that they push out all these morning classes, and then like there's just staffing issues too. But definitely see the angle you're getting at, where ECS might be more interested in what we're doing if it's revolving around like the scheduling thing.
It will actually be useful because I was thinking like for the events registrations.
Yeah.
So actually like do a whole Excel thing which I like try to fit everything like
Yeah.
together, and to get that automated would be really done.
They have a what do you call it, like a calendar tool, but it really only reflects like the classes that you have and once you sign up for them and all that. You know, it's still something you yourself have to navigate. So having a better navigation tool, definitely, I can see at that point. You know, yeah. I'll just.
So, this is something that I've come across and other people have. When people have like long breaks in between their scheduling, but they don't have like enough time to like go home or go to place, but
Yeah.
having like an app or something that tells you what events are going on campus during those times, whether it be club activities that are going on or like a talk or something, because it seems like almost everything ends that is advertised ends at like 2, but I have a huge gap between
Sure.
1 and 6 that I now need to fill, because I mean, yeah, I can go all the way back home and then come back after an hour, but it's not
That's
worth
transit.
gas
Yeah.
and transit stuff. So having something that says, hey, we have data science club at this time, that fills up that time. Oh, they're having a guest lecture in the auditorium at this time and this time.
It's a free message sharing.
So it's just
Yeah.
like something that you can get like an update of what events are going on during a certain spate of time.
Because a lot of a lot of the way that information gets out too is just through email, and the email system is kind of I'll be kind and say it's abysmal. So you know,
Really not the best.
it just sends like I got like 7 emails this morning, and I really don't have time to consider. Like I can look at 3 of them, you know what I mean? And then I'm getting that's just for my student email, and I know that the email engagement already is pretty bad. So if we
Don't
could.
they have like a system where you have to like reserve certain areas on campus for certain events?
Yes.
So what, if we pull data from there, then it would show what.
Yes, for sure. I definitely think that is definitely. So let me just add to this real quick before I forget. So integrating event to alternative. How do I spell alternative to? Yeah. And then we can pull from like there's all kinds of ways to deal with that for sure. But that would be we would need to probably talk to another. We would need to figure out who to talk to. But that's part of the reason why we're doing this now, so we can figure out that kind of stuff. But it sounds like the scheduler is kind of interest. But you wanted to add.
I know that the response is going to be like an incredulous, also a QR code, but it would be nice if there was some sort
That reminds me, actually.
It'd be nice if there was some sort of like, when I'm scheduling things, when I'm putting together my calendar,
Yeah.
it always feels like such a chore to add new events to it. It would be so nice if there was just like some sort of a symbol. You could whip out your camera and scan it, and it's just, but that's immediately and directly tied to an app. So you just scan it immediately and automatically adds that to your calendar for you.
So
So a QR code, right?
an event adder plugin.
But tied to something that's extremely easy to access. So like a physical, like QR codes basically, but
Yeah.
it doesn't open up a website. It just automatically, you scan it and it automatically adds it to like a list of available events kind of thing.
That I would say might make it a little bit more complicated, just because you'd have to like access a camera or something, and then it would then have to plug into whatever program we're trying to run. So like with the scheduler now, I could imagine having it on a server and then just having a very basic interface that we bounce off that to kind of, and then plug into like a Gmail or something. And so, and I can see how, I mean, we would have to see what permissions we have from the college to what data we could bring in from what institutions, but and then to add, and then dealing with camera access would be like, so then would we make it more like that would have to like make it more of an app,
Yeah.
as opposed to like something I could put on my laptop, spin around, and run at the demo. But here's the thing though, that's fine. Like I think it's called like a PWM, where it's basically like it's like an online host service that can run on Android and all that cool stuff, and it just scales and all that. But that would definitely increase like the amount of engineering involved. But if we're game for that and we have people for that, then I mean, let's do it, you know. So I'll definitely add it to the list. But that is one of the considerations. Is I understand that everyone's kind of busy as is, so we can just add it to like a burn down thing. So if we get the fundamentals running, then definitely we can add features like all that. But at this point, the question would really, for the scheduler, would really be like, how are we going to get our data set?
Does it have to be specifically Sac State related?
No, it doesn't, but I think it might make it, honestly, it might make it easier because it's a more finite scope. Because otherwise we're talking about trying to create a general scheduler, which...
Well, I mean, not just scheduler, but like doing something that like, hey, data on areas of Sacramento that are safe or something like that. Like, just kind of, we seem to be focusing on Sac State related stuff of like, scheduling and stuff like that. Does it have to be Sac State related, or can we do something that's more like general?
It doesn't. It can be more general use. And if it increases, like, so if it's community oriented for one, they just at the college tend to favor that. And then obviously if it's for like and at this point we're talking about utilizing like I don't think any of this is really going to cost too much. Maybe if we use like a pre-trained model and a service, like if we're not training the model, then there might be a cost to like tokens that we're running. But like a demo we did for the Expanding Your Horizons event last Saturday was just like a AI voice changer. But that was for like kids. I mean, that's, I suppose, the backup is we can just, because it was like out of the box, ready to go, trained models, change your voice kind of thing. We could do that again. It would be easy. But part of the reason why I'd like to do something more ground up is that, I mean, it would be more easily then covered if we wanted to scale, sort of, like we could more easily find grants, and that it would be great on anyone's portfolio, to show that you can work in a team, that you can develop something from start to finish, and that all that kind of stuff is, I will say, in my experience, been valuable when talking to recruiters. So if I can offer that sort of thing, like a teachable moment, and like a process of learning, and all that kind of stuff, like that's kind of what we're looking to get at, I guess. But no, if it offers like if it's a kind of demo that's like knock your socks off kind of, and interactable and like checks the right boxes, then it doesn't have to be CSUS. We're not. If it's a good idea, you know, then it's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking of if we do something that's community-based, but not necessarily like Sac State, but like Sacramento,
Sure.
we might have more ability to get grants that and be actually used by the greater Sacramento area.
Sure. So the one thing about why I kind of keep trying to keep stuff in scope to Sac State is
You can
that
always build off of something.
right, exactly. So if it works for Sac State, then we could maybe try and figure out how to make it work for Sacramento. It's a good test bed, and it makes it way simpler of who we have to talk to as far as getting permissions and stuff. That's really the only main reason, I guess, why. And we are a Sac State club, so you know, at a Sac State ECS demo, you know, I think it would be kind of on theme. But you know, if anybody has an idea, like the gamifying the resume thing, yeah, like that's not inherent to Sac State, but it's also a good idea. So, you know.
Did you want to pitch these to the UEI or the UEI grant?
So I'm definitely thinking about the grants department timeline, which is part of the reason why I want to start talking about this now.
We have next Thursday. Try to.
Yes, but we can also possibly. I was trying to hope to get a meeting before that, so we can figure out what we could possibly cover for next year, expense-wise, with that grant. But I mean, I think most of our bases are covered. I don't think we're really hurting, and so I'm not super pressed about that timeline. I think that we have sufficient resources to kind of at least try something, and if we do, we can figure it out.
We should probably try to do our supplies through IRA with that around again. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super worried about funding at this point. I don't think what we're trying to do is going to be really expensive by any means. Most of what I'm thinking, what I've thought of, or what has been suggested so far is stuff that will take more.
More hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know if any. So I know a couple of people just walked in. What we're talking about is the April 6th ECS Expo, and we just want to have an interactable demo for that. I've had a couple ideas, but I'm trying to see if anybody else has any ideas, if you have, and that just a couple of the check boxes are like something anybody can really be involved in. I'd like it to be something you might be able to put on a portfolio, even if it's just working in a team, kind of gaining experience. And then, did I say interactable already? I think so. And something that demonstrates what we as a club can do, I think, is really what we're shooting for. And then I don't know if, did you catch the litter tool thing? So that would just be like, the way I think Drew put it was like a heat map of litter distribution, because it's not getting picked up in a, what I would consider a timely manner by maintenance, and that we're not allowed to organize trash pickups on campus because it takes away from their work hours or something. So I was like, well, fine, then we'll just tell them about it. But there is a good point that I don't know who would. There isn't as much utility beyond sort of our demo. Like, if the trash isn't, it's almost as much effort to just pick it up and throw it away. If that's not happening, then who's going to report it to begin with? But I can think about, in terms of data collection, anybody can go out, take pictures, ping their location, and we can build a model on that. But then there's been it's been pointed out that we have this auto scheduler that's been suggested, and that would could very easily find utility beyond just the expo. where you're just able to enter some details about your schedule, and if we integrate it into sort of the like calendar and agenda and scheduler with any sort of CSUS events that that very clearly has value beyond beyond the expo, beyond it having some level of interactability. I think it would be harder to think of specifically how less engineering or CS oriented people would be as involved with that, but I think we can think so. Even if it's just representing to go talk to the right departments, but we can sort that out. Right now we're just trying to float ideas and see what sticks. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, Marsh, what's up?
It does make sense as to why we shouldn't do trash pickup, because there's already enough that maintenance went on strike last week.
Well, that would explain why there's trash everywhere.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, everyone's on strike. It's not just the construction workers, it's everyone.
Unions have been, there's been a lot of
Unions getting rotten today, as of today, because
I don't know if it's that. I think
it's
there's
either-
negotiation.
It's either because they're not getting paid enough, or it's because they're just so greedy that they need to. They just.
Is greed bad though?
It's not greed either way.
I mean, like, come on! Now there's too many unions on strike. Like, we're trying to.
If they paid them-
is this
so-
like
so if
is
they
this
paid
self-interest or something? Because
Yeah, of course. Everyone.
even the ECS almost went on strike.
It's so. Can you blame a union for acting in its self-interest in contrast to a corporation or organization that will act in its own interest?
No.
Right.
I mean, you just have to blame the company, and also, if anything happens, blame the person who decides to one day decide not to control him or herself and run their car into a crowd of strikers.
I'm not.
We should get-
I'm
Because
not
I'm just
familiar.
saying that's gonna happen if they don't control
Back
other
on
people.
topic.
I mean, there's
I
many
know.
hypotheticals we could
Yeah,
cycle
but
through,
this happened before. I'm not kidding. It escalated to violence, unfortunately. So that's why we need to prevent strikes.
Camera one, my camera. Sure.
But anyways, let's get back to this.
Yeah, we want to think about expo projects, but I don't know if anybody else had any sort of input to that sort of, or if anyone has any particular interest towards one or the other in terms of what we have already suggested. The gamified resume is basically, I think. Do you want to kind of explain the idea? Just real quick again.
Basic idea that hit me was well, I'm actually in the process of trying to apply for a job, and it kind of struck me that I wanted a way to practice writing a resume so that I could update mine better, have like kind of just like a natural feel for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess I was just kind of trying to put together in my head, like, how would you even practice that skill? And the idea came together is like, oh, it'd be kind of an interesting game to put together where you're kind of given like a randomly generated person with randomly generated life experiences and that kind of thing. And it's kind of on you. The purpose of the game is that you pick through these life experiences and you go, okay, well, here's how I would include this. I wouldn't include this. I would da-da-da-da-da. And you have these pieces that come together to become a part of a resume that you've put together for this individual. And then that would be submitted somehow. This is a big black box.
Yeah.
And it would be graded somehow. And that's kind of the nature of the thing. So you kind of gamify the process of looking at somebody's life events and experiences and writing a resume for them. The output being, now you can look at your own life and kind of assemble your own resume. You have a more natural feel for it because you practiced the skill.
Right.
That kind of a thing.
Sure. Makes sense.
What about, have you heard of the translating of business lingo? Where instead of saying all this negative stuff, it's translated into like
I think I know what you mean.
yeah.
It's like I don't know if you guys are familiar with like copy pasta trust me, it's to a point. That it's like there are like tools online where you put in like a paragraph and then it like adds a bunch of emojis, or like converts a bunch of words to emojis, or like turns like there's a whole bunch of them. So I'm imagining kind of something that does
Similar. You can write that heated email that you always wanted to say that, hey, Marie, you're a complete bitch and all this other stuff, and it'll translate it into the friendly, professional way of, you need to work on your resource skills when it comes to
As per our previous
research
correspondence.
Yeah, I think that could be done I think that could be done actually pretty quickly, if we're just trying to employ like a large language model. It would require probably very little tweaking to get it to do something like that.
You're talking about the resume thing to process the text?
Just in terms of like codifying language. So like taking language in a certain context, or what's the term where it's like has a tone, like a tonal changer. So that would probably be pretty, like I think ChatGPT kind of, if you tell it to, will already do that sort of thing. Where you can say, I'd like this tone. I've actually had to tell it to speak less whimsically, because for whatever reason it'll start to I don't know, use language that you'd think was from another century. But in any case, so I mean that's definitely like a tonal changer. We'll add that. There we go.
That would actually really be easy to implement. You just put a GUI over ChatGPT and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, we just have an initialization. Like we could just take the API, get some sort of front end in any sort of front end development language, and
It's something like, I'm gonna send you a paragraph. You're gonna convert this paragraph to this style, and then send that prompt, and then literally send that with tag team.
yeah, like
Response would be like
it's. I'd have to look into. We could even get. There's a way to even, I think, tweak it with the API so that we could have it without the prompt initialization. But the easy thing to do would just be to tell it what to do, and that's what a lot of, actually, like the whole rules that ChatGPT has, that it can't, tell you to do illegal things and all that. Like that's not a hard-coded response necessarily. It's just something that the developers.
They pre-prompt before you put anything in?
And just like paragraphs upon, I don't want to say paragraphs, but like, because I don't know for sure, but it's probably a lot of just prompts that.
Use the ChatGPT to regulate the ChatGPT.
Which is why, that's why the prompt injection stuff works, because if you can just figure a way around logically its initialized prompts, then you have access to the unfettered model, for better, for worse. Frankly, I've seen what it looks like without the initialized prompts a while ago, actually, but I think the initializations that happen make it seem a little bit smarter.
I saw it when it first dropped, and it was the Wild West, and it was interesting.
It was
what it could do.
Yeah, I mean, it would pretend to go online and search things and just make stuff up, and among a great many other things. But it definitely has a lot of knowledge that it probably
Shouldn't share.
Yeah, like I don't know why it definitely, like for example, one thing to think about is that there's definitely what you can do yourself in terms of digital privacy, especially when we talk about other people looking at your digital profiles. It's a totally different story when we talk about privacy between yourself, the individual, and institutions. That with the way ChatGPT was initially released, it could specifically speak of people. So if you had a online presence that would reference specifics to you, like if you were a business owner or whatever, that it could talk about you, and it would know you in some way.
Michael,
Uh-huh.
what is Does a tonal changer actually change the tone of your voice through AI?
Oh, I see. Well, so yes, that does exist. There is like literally voice changers that are AI driven that can adapt your voice. But I think what we were talking about is like how you can write, for example, an angry letter and then have it adjusted to use corporate lingo that changes it from an angry tone to constructive criticism, perhaps, or something.
Okay. Through AI.
Yes, using a transformer or something.
Alright, and you mean, I was thinking of the way that your voice changes, like what the Darth Vader helmet has?
Yeah, right. Well, so we did do something like that for our previous expo, and there's a lot of out-of-the-box stuff for that already. And so we could do that, but ideally I'd like something where people can get involved and maybe learn a little bit, even if it's just like figuring out the process of development in a team.
Yeah, I remember how I wore that in 10th grade, and then on Halloween Day, and the teacher there had told me to take it off, and I was like, no, please, no, and then she took it off.
Yeah, well, so I think the voice changers now that are AI driven are even more sophisticated than that, but they've been around, that's for sure.
You could like for the business tone changer, you could
Yeah.
like go for a bunch of programs and you can adjust them. Because like even inside of the business language, you're
Yeah.
not using the same tone when you're speaking to somebody who is in the same position as you,
Right.
as to your boss.
Right.
Same like in school, you're not gonna text the same way to a professor that is giving you class than to a professor that you don't know and you don't know like how he is.
Right.
So you could like add some kind of slider or something like that about like the confidence you have like with that person and the position that you are relatively to that person and like stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Casual versus respect.
Yeah, like
Just have a button, and every time you click it, it
I think
sends
that-
the word nicer.
I think
to
actually,
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
actually Grammarly does that. Now that I think
Right.
about it, I think that Grammarly does literally that.
Well, that there's
It's like it's so gay for the cool stuff you have to be.
there are a lot of different ways we could go about doing it, but it's definitely something to a variable to keep in mind in terms of not just what sort of tone we're presenting, but then what would be an appropriate tone to adjust it to. Like that is definitely a variable within that that would be important to keep in mind, for sure.
I just
but-
find that a lot of teachers, like, how do you come to a certain teacher or present to a different teacher?
Yeah, there is certainly some teachers are more approachable than others.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And it's something that people can use even outside of the school to talk to like a boss or manager. and
Yeah.
stuff. So I find that if you're able to make something that's external, or even if we can like have stuff that like highlight this thing and we can get it to change like just sections of it to be like, hey, this is a little bit too harsh. Can you make it nicer? Or this, we need more emphasis on this, or
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think with the transformers that are publicly available now, we could definitely pretty quickly develop something. I think most of the challenge to that would be figuring whether we want to use some sort of custom front end, how we would go about that, and just figuring out where how to get an API to fly with all that, because to do that ground up training would be I think kind of unnecessary, even given just the models that are all even like the open source ones. I think we could probably get something pretty solid, but it's probably not all that expensive to use one of the proprietary, specifically GPT. GPT is just like, for whatever reasons, corporate reasons that we will likely not know for the next 50 years, leaps and bounds. Well, there's some idea. They have people go back over and kind of do flagging on what you send through ChatGPT to help training in contextualizing sort of all that stuff. But yeah, so definitely all good ideas. I think the way, did we have anything else anyone wanted to add before we kind of move on? Okay. So I think the way I'll go about this, especially since what I'll probably do is I'll just say like, I'll probably try and, that's the other thing I want to talk about. So, and again, today is an even better example of why I think we need this policy. So, I think I care probably more than most of membership really particularly cares in regards to having quorum where we can actually conduct club business. But we have such a lax membership rule that, you know, we have enough members that if we have a voting day like today happen, that we definitely don't need quorum. So like we're at 60 members or something now, and quorum is like a third. So we would need like 20 people, which we can probably pull for like particular events. We can get pretty close to that. But the point is I'm thinking that this semester, which is like about halfway through, we just institute the policy where if you're not at a meeting for like, if you don't make it to like 4 consecutive meetings, aka like if you don't make it to a meeting in a month,
You
then
mean autonomous drone, or is it this meeting?
I mean for like just data science business typically, that or like general meetings, I suppose. If you don't make it to like 4 consecutive general meetings, aka, or unless like otherwise stated, you know, that you agree to like abstain from voting, basically. So just so that when and that all votes, like all formal votes, should be given like a week in advance, all that kind of jazz, you know. But just that that way we're not both completely ignoring our Constitution and also still trying to act as some sort of democracy. But that's just the idea I had, I think, a while ago. And when we move to next semester, it's something that will probably actually be written into the Constitution more formally, and we'll probably put it out there more. But does anyone really object to adopting that policy? And that we can probably even hold a vote on it at some point. I'll give like a 2 weeks notice or something, just so that if anyone really strongly opposes it, they have plenty of time to do so. I'm not seeing anyone throwing anything at me, so I think that might just have to be the way we play that. Okay, and then the last thing I had planned, though it was really for if no one said anything about the expo, that we could do a paper airplane competition as kind of a team building exercise. But I mean, unless we want to further any points on the expo, really at this point. So okay, actually, so there is the paper airplane thing. I think we're gonna try and wrap though actually in like less than 10 minutes. So that we might just save that for another time. I think I'll just
By the way, does the expo thing go in parallel with the drone? So like,
So the drone is going to be one of the projects that is to the expo.
oh, so it's for the expo too?
Yes, we're doing another project that's more the club orientation than like
Take care.
the project orientation. So we're doing 2 things effectively.
And I don't know the timeline on the drone project because a lot of it's I think there's not a strong channel of communication. There's not a good chain of communication or even direction, frankly. Like I had heard, what's up? I had heard that by week 4 we're going to have people onboarded and tasks assigned. But from what I understand at this point, we have a single person from the autonomous who is very well versed in sort of in drone tech and development. Like they build drones, but that it is on them currently to construct a drone. And I don't know what the timeline on that is. I think we have acquired parts for it, but
What's basically going on
You know?
with the drone is that Hashem is stuck in his way of wanting the drone to be finished first before we even implement software, which is just horrible design in general, because you want to kind of do both in tandem, but Hashem wants this done first before anything else gets done, so.
I mean, I haven't tried to do anything like this before, so just personally, I don't know what would be optimal of it, but I definitely can say that we're not. I'm not sure about what's going to happen with the drone project. Is Hashem graduating this semester?
No, next.
Okay. Well, so
I'm the only one who's really graduating.
gotcha.
I'm graduating this semester.
Well, congrats. You know.
We're done.
Yeah, light at the end of the
That's why I
tunnel.
haven't like put any input onto the drone thing because I have no say.
Yeah, no worries. I mean,
Just gone.
We're gonna be gone. We don't have to deal with it.
it would be great if we could do some sort of, yeah, I don't know. At a certain point, I might even just, I mean, it sounds like there's some money spent, and if there continues to be some, we'll figure it out. We have to, I think, internally organize a little bit better before I can start talking about other people's organization. So,
I think you're good.
well, I appreciate it, Aaron, but I just, I'm not counting on, put it this way, I'm not counting on having the autonomous drone ready for the expo, where I really want to have this project. I want it to be put to membership now so that we can develop a timeline of who is actually interested in participating, which brings me to my next question. Who actually wants to try and be involved in the expo project? Okay,
I'm gonna be gone, so.
no worries. You can just be, a logistical coordinator of some kind, it doesn't,
I can be part of it while I'm still in the semester.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much we're gonna get done this semester.
right.
Very low.
Which is why I want to really try and just have the thing on paper first, so that so that we can even just have that proper timeline built out before we even try and execute. I think that's probably part of the issue that we're seeing in other projects is there weren't set goals. There's no real burn down. There's no it kind of seems a little continuously playing it by ear, which I think works better for smaller scale projects. But in any case, all right. So it seems like there's a number of people here that would be interested in participating. So that's good. And then I know you just walked in. So we're just talking about what we're going to do for the expo April 6th next semester. And if you have any ideas, that's what we're just doing right now. Is I proposed a couple ideas, and then a couple other members came up with some ideas. We're going to get as many of the ideas out there as possible, and then I think if not next week, then the week after next, we're going to try and actually settle on one, and then onboard people and figure out how we break up the timeline so we're done by well before actually April 6th. And so I think the two popular ones so far are the sort of an auto scheduler, which you just, it's able to kind of take your schedule and you're able to add to that, and that it fills out a schedule, like a calendar for you, and that we could do all sorts of integrations with the school. And that there's a variety of reasons why it might be the thing to do. And then the other sort of thing that seemed particularly popular was a gamified resume writing tool where you could kind of practice writing a resume, develop your resume skills, and that it would have someone who's it would just present a number of variable, like a character almost, and then you would just try and write a resume for them off of that.
Something
So I think
might be kind of interesting that we could actually do is do like a filter type deal, like a Snapchat filter, but vocally.
a vocal filter.
like a Snapchat filter, like put
Yeah.
an image on someone's face and have it track. Because that's something that there's a lot of projects we could duplicate, and that would be interesting and interactive for people to do at the CS Expo.
Yeah, so like a face. I will say, yeah. So a face, like a filter / face tracker. And so what I'll do at this point, since I think we should just wrap real soon, that I'll set up on the Discord kind of an area that has a lot of this posted, so people can either add to it or comment or whatever. And then I'll throw out the announcement, kind of what came up in the meeting, just so that we get that well out of the way, so everyone's kind of, at least if they're tuned in, on the same page. And then I'll try and put something out about the voting policy. I don't think we really need to hold a vote for this. I think we can kind of just do this by who's here and who wants to participate and who's interested. But there is a matter of how we're going to handle elections at the end of the semester that we'll have to figure out like in the next 4 weeks. So anyway, I'll just say I think that's everything I really wanted to get to. Appreciate you guys for coming, and I think probably Friday is when I'll put all that stuff out onto the Discord. How's everyone's midterms been? Everyone okay?
I've had
Yeah.
Brutal.
Surfing the wave.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
I had a midterm last evening, yesterday,
Yeah.
and then you know what? 133.
Oh yeah.
And then I have another midterm many hours later, just this morning. Today. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I didn't even have time to study up on the 138 much. All I did was write the cheat sheet on that one.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't know for anyone else in ECS, or I mean, have your exams been like scheduled in 1 week, or has it been kind of 1 week after another of for me, it's been like 5 weeks of exams.
In my experience, it's almost completely, it's usually all at once. And what
Yeah.
it is teachers are like, oh, the other teachers will have their exams this week, so I better postpone mine. But everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
So they all come in all at once.
That's
So
what we
I
should
haven't
do. We
had
should make a
tests, but I've
scheduler
had
for
3
professors.
essays due in like 1 day.
I feel like there's pros and cons. Like if it is over the course of 5 weeks, you can juggle it maybe, whereas it's harder to do that sort of thing if it's all at once. At the same time though,
You get it all over. All
exactly. So, but
I
anyway.
just think like maybe having 2 and then 2 is so much better than having like 4 all at once or 4 weeks of.
It sounds like we're talking about a need for a scheduler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think something that's useful
Yeah.
for teachers, but that's
Yeah.
not going to be very good to display for students. Of like,
Right.
hey, these are when the other teachers in this department are having things due.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Big assignments.
right. Well, anyway, we've got the room till 4. I'm gonna end the stream here, and I'm gonna say again, thanks.
That's all, folks.
Yeah, that's all, folks. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
I have my last class of the evening. It got canceled again. Ask me
Yeah.
how many times with